How would you like to improve your health and keep your family safe? You're listening to the Healthy Home Hacks Podcast, where we firmly believe enjoying optimal health shouldn't be a luxury. Healthy Home Authorities and husband and wife team Ron and Lisa will help you create a home environment that will level up your health. It's time to hear from the experts. Listen in on honest conversations and gain the best tips and advice. If you're ready to dive in and improve your well-being and increase your energy, you're in the right place. All right, here are your hosts, bowel biologists, authors, media darlings, vicarious vegans, and avocado aficionados, Ron and Lisa Barris.
Over a decade ago, I was sitting in the dentist's office awaiting my appointment. I picked up one of those luxurious California coastal magazines. You know, the ones that make you feel like you're living in a shoebox. Well, estate envy aside, I was browsing through the glossy images of beachfront mansions and just about to dip my toes in the warm sand, when suddenly I was jolted from my brief yet blissful daydream by an article that caught my attention. Dang! And I was just about to tell the pool boy to bring me a spritzer and a cold towel. Anyway, I can't remember the title of the article, but I do recall reading a section where the doctor being interviewed was advising against the use of non-stick cookware, among many other healthy living tips. So this was on the heels of Ron and I launching our first business, Green Nest. So I continued to read the entire article, and I said to myself, holy moly, this doctor is smart. She's savvy and so ahead of others in the medical industry. Oh, and her focus about getting to the root cause of illness and eliminating everyday toxins? Sold. I proceeded to locate her bio and was shocked to find my doppelganger of a physician was practicing in my very own town. How had I not heard of her before? Needless to say, since then, Ron and I have been patients of her 35,000 square foot, state-of-the-art integrative medical center, where our special guest today, Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy, serves as the medical director.
Dr. Connealy is a leader in the integrative and functional medicine field. Now, listeners, if you're not aware of what those terms mean, it means integrating conventional, homeopathic, Eastern medicine, as well as the new modern medicine. And as Lisa said, Dr. Connealy is the medical director of not just the Center for New Medicine, which she founded in 1992, but also the Cancer Center for Healing. And together, they have become the largest integrative medical clinic in North America and are visited by patients from all over the world with an impressive 47,000 patients and growing. Now, Dr. Connealy feels we must treat the whole person, the patient, and not the disease of the patient while determining the origin of illness. And she and her team focus on internal medicine, cancer prevention, providing unique testing to determine the early stages of cancer years before a scan can reveal it. Dr. Connealy she's the author of 2 books, The Cancer Revolution and Be Perfectly Healthy, one of my favorites. And in 2017, she was named one of the top 50 functional and integrative doctors in the country. You can find her beautiful clinic in Irvine, California, like Lisa and I did. But to learn more, visit ConnealyMD.com. That's ConnealyMD.com.
Dr. Connealy, welcome.
Great to see you beautiful people again. I haven't seen you guys in a while. I'm just thrilled to be here.
You're saying we're due for an appointment.
No, we were there. We've been there. We're good on our checkups.
We've been doing our checkups, absolutely.
So. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's an honor. And listeners, please stay through until the end because we have 2 awesome gifts for you. 1, the juice plan, which will have you pulping and sipping your way to health. And 2, the 14-day keto plan to eat your way to health. Links to both will be in the show notes at ronandlisa.com/podcast. That's ronandlisa.com/podcast.
Now, Dr. Connealy, we are big fans of your work and your focus on prevention and getting to the root cause of illness. So, what can we do to prevent cancer today? And this is an open-ended question, but what can we do today to prevent cancer today?
Well, that's a loaded question.
So, gotcha.
But you're right. We need to really focus on prevention and early detection. So just a couple of things so people know where I come from and why I am focusing on this. Well, first of all, I'm all about prevention of all diseases, whether it's cancer. The top 3 killers are heart disease, cancer, and doctors, medications, hospital errors, and everything are number 3, believe it or not.
Oh, can we repeat that again? So we have the top 3.
The top
killers.
3 illnesses are heart disease, cancer, and third is doctors, medications, errors are all in that category, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That number 3 is surprising.
Yeah, it is very. But Johns Hopkins 2017 did the study and it's published. And that is just the way it is because unfortunately, people are given medications, a pill for every ill. And there's lots of complications with giving medications. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today, because I was born in the 50s and my mother, when she was pregnant, was given a drug to prevent miscarriage and loss of her baby. And so, of course, 15 years later, they find out that that drug caused cancer, hormone problems, anatomical problems, skeletal problems, all kind of problems. Mm-hmm. And so I started going to a cancer institute when I was 16 years of age. I'd never really gone to the doctor. And so because I'm one of those, what they call DES babies, I was started to be, they wanted to make sure that there was nothing wrong. And that's what I've been doing for my whole life and my whole career. And that was one of the reasons why I became a physician. But people don't understand that cancer really takes about 10 years to develop a tumor. So cancer starts with actually one abnormal cancer cell, just one. So one cell you're not going to see, you're not going to feel, you're not going to everything. And that then replicates itself because they're immortal, right? So and then when it comes a mass, it takes about 10 years to show up on an ultrasound, MRI, CT scan. All right.
Wow.
Right. And then that's why you're not going to feel it. You won't feel anything because your body has unbelievable resiliency and capacity. And so you're not going to feel a little bump, right? You're not going to feel it, especially you might in your breast, but what if it were in your abdomen, or what if it was in your pelvis, or what if it was, in a part of the body where there's like the lungs, you don't feel anything. That's why the fatality rate of lung cancer is like over 75% because you have these huge lungs and you feel nothing. You're not going to have a cough. Like I had a patient today who has stage 4 testicular cancer. And so I was reading his scan to him and he's got multiple nodules in his lung and something that was 5 centimeters. I said, do you have any symptoms whatsoever? He said, not one symptom. He goes, I feel great. I feel wonderful. So that is why our early detection and prevention program, and no one has it. No one knows how to do what we're doing in the world. And I'm not saying that I know everything because I don't. Yeah. But what I'm telling you is the way that we designed our paradigm to really dig deep, okay? We don't rely on tumor markers. We don't rely on CT scans. We don't rely. Yes, those are helpful in looking at everything because sometimes you have to do PET scans, CT scans, MRIs, and all that. But I have many a patient right now that have clean scans, but they have cancer. Okay. Oh, wow. So, so just because you have a clean scan, again, and I know this is really getting complicated for people out there listening. They're like, what? Because there's something called circulating tumor cells. Circulating tumor cells appear, you guys, when something is about 1 millimeter in size. 1 millimeter, that's a pencil line. Well, are you going to see that on a scan? Are you going to see that? Probably not.
So Dr. Connealy, what are some of the latest tests that we can do if we can't see this in some of these traditional testing methods? What are the scans or tools that you use to figure this out?
Okay, so what I use, first of all, the most important thing is to do comprehensive blood work on someone. So what is that? A chemistry panel looking at your electrolytes, your kidney, your liver, okay? 50% of the population has fatty liver, so you need to do those liver function, okay? That's 1 out of 2 people have fatty liver.
What is the cause of so much fat? Is it just toxicity?
Toxins galore. Okay. And then people's diet. So we'll talk about that in a second. Then I do something called the C-reactive protein. That's the non-specific marker for inflammation. If you have inflammation, inflammation's the precursor to all diseases. You never want inflammation. So what's the ideal level? 0.5 or less. Okay.
Oh, repeat that. So inflammation is the precursor to all
diseases, like heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, everything is related to inflammation.
Which is so important for listeners because we hear that it seems like such a buzzword. And I think a lot of people, when they think of inflammation, they just think of, I don't know, like your skin being inflamed or, people not.
But people can have no joint pain or no skin problems and have high C-reactive protein. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's the marker. It's done by any lab. None of this laboratory, you guys, is hard to get. It can be done at any laboratory. You can order it yourself, actually.
What did you call the marker, Dr. Connealy? What was the phrase?
C-reactive protein.
C-reactive
protein.
Right. I'm sure you've had it done. So.
Yeah. We're in good hands at your center.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah. So C-reactive protein.
And that's covered by insurance?
It's covered by insurance. Okay. And then vitamin D. Vitamin D influences over 3,000 genes. They found out that cancer, viral problems, heart disease, blood sugar, Alzheimer's, all related to vitamin D.
Oh,
so optimal vitamin D is between 50 and 70. Okay.
And how much do you recommend taking a day, or does it just depend on the person and where your level?
Right. It depends on the person. I personally take 10,000 IUs Monday through Friday.
Oh, Monday through Friday. Wow. And then you give a little
on the weekends. None on the weekends. Right.
Interesting. Because I take 5 and I just got my blood test.
And what was your level?
My lab work. And it was on the low end of normal. And I was kind of surprised because I thought, God, 5,000 a day is a lot, but I need to up mine. Apparently, I'm going to follow your doctor's orders there.
Right. And the older you are, the less you absorb. So it's always a good idea. So young people absorb vitamin D a little better than someone older. So vitamin D though is like, I tell people vitamin D is a hormone and a vitamin. So it's one of those things vital to your health.
With these tests, do you think the reason that a lot of physicians don't order these tests is they don't know? I hate to say laziness. What is because I think
it's just they just don't know and they don't read all the research. Because like when I finished medical school in 84, okay, they didn't have all the information that I know today, but I love information. That is my hobby, is reading. That's just what I like to do. Okay. Yeah. And so I'm also aging myself. I'm not aging, but I'm getting chronologically older.
She's gorgeous. She looks like she's 20.
You
guys, if you see her, she looks stunning. I don't even know.
But I want to feel great myself. I want to, whatever time I have on this planet, I want to feel great.
That is really great. I love that. Everybody
because we don't know, and no one knows their expiration day, but we're going to make today great. And that's what I always tell patients when they come in very sick, but let's learn how to make today great.
I love that. Yeah. And living optimally. I think that people accept not feeling good and accept, that they're going to be on medication or they're going to get, and switching that to not just not being sick, but being optimal, having that energy and that vibrancy. And if you could see Dr. Connealy, she's so vibrant. I know you're just an energizer bunny because I follow you on social media and you're always go, and taking care of so many patients, and you do such an incredible job. But I wanted to go back to the cancer cell issue that we were talking about at the beginning.
Right.
Now, can people have cancer cells but they're not sort of active? Is that the right terminology?
Well, that's a good, well, no, we're a biochemical machine. So we're always making abnormal and normal cells all the time. And so we have a program in our body called apoptosis, and that's a fancy name for programmed cancer cell death. So we have our beautiful immune system, and our beautiful immune system is killing the cancer cells.
Gotcha. Okay.
But once your immune system has become overwhelmed, then you start making a cancer cell that has become a stem cell or a circulating tumor cell.
Oh, okay. So Could somebody get a test and they say, "Oh, we see a cancer cell," but your body could ward that off? It's not a concern? No. Okay, so once it's cancer, it's cancer.
You can do a specific blood test, though, for circulating tumor cells and circulating stem cells. Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
So those blood tests, those blood tests are done all over the world, but literally all over the world. But it's about using the best lab. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right. So there's labs that specialize, like, for example, Lyme testing. Lyme testing really isn't best at a LabCorp or Quest. You want to use a lab that's all they specialize in. So I use a lab in Greece that all they specialize is in cancer testing. That's all they do. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
And they've been around for about 16 years. They're already present in 15 countries. And they have the most sophisticated cancer testing of any lab I've used. Now, I have used the other labs just because I'm like, well, maybe this lab is good. Maybe this one is. But when I send a lot of specimens there, I can tell, well, no, that's impossible. That it doesn't correlate at all with the patient. So I kind of have resorted to the lab in Greece that I've been using.
Oh, that makes so much sense. We had a homeopathist and acupuncturist on the show recently, and she said the same thing. She does a lot of environmental toxin tests for heavy metals and parasites and mold. And she said the exact same thing. It's incredibly important that it goes to the correct lab, because she could send it to one lab and, like you said, it comes back like, oh, we didn't find anything, but the good lab was going to detect. I guess I would go with food sensitivities and food allergies too. I've heard
that's another one. Yes, you have to get good food allergy testing, because some of them are, if you just send it to LabCorp or Quest, the food allergy isn't that good. But as soon as you send it to a specific lab, just like nutrition, just like vitamin testing.
Yeah.
You mentioned mold testing, all this, it's really the lab you use to ascertain the results. Yes.
Okay. And the unfortunate thing too, it's not usually covered by insurance though, right? So that's part of the obstacle with health freedoms kind of being blocked.
Right. Currently. Well, yes, the circulating tumor cell stem cell test is not covered by insurance. But I tell people, wouldn't it be better for you to know that you have something really early for $500 than wait till you have cancer and you have to have surgery and you have to have chemo and you have to have radiation and you have to have all this testing and you have to have all these scans. So the money you put out later is way more than the $500 preventive testing that you're doing now.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I didn't realize there was a $500 test and it was preventative. I guess I was thinking from the perspective of someone who already had an illness or a cancer and you're trying to identify various things through the lab. But you're talking about going to your facility and really taking one of these tests.
Being really proactive. Yeah.
Be proactive.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, you know what? Any disease process, guys, I've been doing this 34 years. It's so much easier to prevent illness and early detection than treat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do heart disease the same way. All right. I never have, let me tell you, I can't even tell you the last time I had a heart attack patient that had a heart attack without me knowing it in 1 year. I can't, because I do so much prevention so that they never have a heart attack.
Right. That's incredible.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the timeline going from a rogue cell to a noticeable or detectable cancer diagnosis? I think you said 8 years. Is that
8 to 10 years?
8
exactly.
To 10 years. So,
right.
And like you said, I have a friend who had lung cancer and she had absolutely no symptoms. She actually tripped and fell and went in and they did an x-ray to see if she had a broken bone. And that's how they found it. And it was actually such a blessing in disguise that had happened. So I know we all know people, listeners, we've all known somebody who this has happened to. One day they've just seemed really perfectly healthy. And then the next day you find out they've been diagnosed with something. So yeah,
that's why, Lisa, it is just absolutely critical that we do these simple blood tests that are covered by insurance. And then, like I said, the $500 blood test is not, you can write it off on your HSA or some other way, with other things, I tell people, because a lot of the stuff that we can work up is covered by insurance, like ultrasounds are covered. So you can do an ultrasound, not of every single part of the body, but a lot of part of the body. A chest x-ray is inexpensive. Okay. I mean, when you think about it, there's a lot of good testing that's covered by insurance that,
you can take advantage of that.
One other test that I do that I've been doing for about 23 years is the bioenergetic testing. So you have acupuncture points in your fingers and toes that correspond to every organ in your body. And so before you feel something, like I said, something happens, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I always give the analogy, if you throw a baseball into a mirror, before it hits the mirror, a lot of energy took place, correct?
Yeah.
So you have beautiful acupuncture points, and they detect, they're actually all related like a wire to an organ in your body. So we do this bioenergetic testing that detects imbalances. These are imbalances that are occurring before you feel anything. Okay. So that's another testing I learned. I did not learn that in medical school. I learned that actually at an anti-aging conference. And I thought it was a little woo-woo when I first heard about it because I do. I mean, I'm always skeptical and I'm like, whoa, that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. And I'm like, well, wait, am I being stupid? Like, I don't know anything about this. Let me go delve into it and do due diligence. And now I can't practice medicine without it.
Oh, wow. What is that test called? What is that test
It's called the bioimmune survey.
Bioimmune survey.
Immune survey, yeah. So if you and Ron have not had it done, I would highly recommend. It's not something you have to do like all the time, but I would tell patients like once a year. It's about $200. I go, that's just not expensive for finding and a lot of information.
Yeah. You do such a good job. I know you are always learning. You mentioned that at the top of the show. I know you're always going to conferences. You're very open-minded. We obviously go to your center and we've been going for such a long time. And I've heard your team even say, hey, Dr. Connealy made sure I researched this before we approved this. And I had to do a presentation to her and say, why do we want this new technology? Even with the skincare, because you have a division that does like even skincare at your site. But it's really cool because a lot of doctors don't, like you said, that's just the end at where their education ended and keep kind of regurgitating the formulas and don't spend enough time with their patients. And I know you guys, that's not like that there. I mean, you guys definitely take the time.
Right. And not only that, you actually give so much hope to people, so if you go into a generic stale hospital or facility, it's different than what you offer. I mean, literally when people walk into your place, they're usually desperate, right? They've maybe not taken the precautionary measures to be healthy beforehand, but you give such a high level of hope and optimism. And that is exactly what someone needs when they're at their lowest moment. And that's just evident by walking into your facility, like I mentioned too. So in addition to all this new technology and all these, you're constantly learning. So is your team. It's such a positive place to be.
And Dr. Connealy, why is a positive mindset or mental state important when someone has been diagnosed with cancer?
Right. Well, no, it's important no matter what. It doesn't matter if you don't have a diagnosis of cancer. It doesn't matter what it is, because your mind, brain is connected to your body. So unfortunately, we should have all learned this early on because it would have all helped all of us. But now the science is in that whatever word, the 75,000 thoughts that we have every day are actually making signaling molecules to a cell. So it's up here, then through your bloodstream travels the energy of that thought. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I always tell patients, we become what we think about most of the time. Mm-hmm. So we might as well live in an attitude of gratitude all the time.
Yeah.
We might as well be appreciative of our existence. We might as well be caring, loving, compassionate, and joyful to ourselves and to someone else. Always.
Attitude of gratitude is something Ron and I do every day, pretty much. I mean, we could just be driving in
I do it every day, all day long.
Every day. Yeah. And for some people, it might be a gratitude journal. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do it. Obviously, we meditate every day too, but we're just driving in the car, going on a walk and say, hey, let's do an attitude of gratitude. And it instantly uplifts your mood, by the way. If you're feeling down about anything, you start to do this and you can pick the littlest, tiniest things. Like, I appreciate my bedroom sheets. I appreciate this fresh air. I appreciate the trees outside.
Exactly.
It can be little things. And I think that our sister-in-law, who had stage 4 cancer, she was so incredible with her attitude. I mean, Ron and I were always just so blown away how positive she was. And she just always had a smile on her face and always had such a positive outlook, no matter what was going on with her. And she was just amazing. It's such an inspiration to us and hopefully to anybody listening to this too.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Dr. King, I love your phrase. Cancer is a word, not a sentence. And so we kind of talked about this, not to give up hope, particularly if you have a serious illness like stage 4 cancer. Why is it, having a support system that is on the same page as you important for the healing journey outside of the mental aspect? Why is that so important as you go through this process?
Well, because we often feel alone. When people hear the word cancer, they immediately connote it with death. And there are lots of cancer survivors, okay? And that's what I would tell people to do is listen to cancer survivors. Listen to testimonials of people who are stage 4 and now stage 0, all right? And focus on that, because we talked about that. It's probably single greatest determinant of disease is how you think 24/7. Now, the other thing is that we need support. We all need loving support. We need to have a great team around us. That is talking positively and elevating our spirit and our body. And we need to know that there are a lot of options out there to take care of ourselves. Many, many, many options to take. And my patients really know that. My patients are smart. They're researching not just from what I tell them, but what on their own. And they arm themselves with all of this powerful information. And when they go to the doctor, unfortunately, the doctor just says, okay, you need to do this drug and this surgery and this chemo and this radiation, and never talks to the patient. So tell me, how is your sleep? And how much water do you drink? And do you drink filtered water? What is the food that you eat? I mean, the single greatest determinant of all of our health is the food that we eat.
Yeah, right.
And every doctor tells the patients, oh, that doesn't matter at all. Well, there's only 5 jillion books on how to eat, and none of them say Oreo cookies and macaroni and cheese.
Right. We know people who have been told that by their doctor. Oh, the food doesn't matter. I'm like,
and movement, movement is life and life is movement. And then cleansing. First of all, there's so many articles on PubMed about pollution. So that means that all of us need to do something to cleanse every single day, because there's not enough technology to clean up all the pollutants in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say the pollution too, as you know, we're biobiologists, so we're very much into the electromagnetic radiation spectrum. So not just the TV, the things that you're watching, the conversations that you're having. You don't want to be in gossipy if you're around toxic people. Like you said, find that community. There's so many resources, even if it's not your family or people near you, you can find it online now. You can get into good groups and do Zoom calls, and seek the light and seek that and reduce that electric pollution load. Because we were talking about back with the acupuncture and the meridians, how we are all energy, and those energies, those radio frequencies are affecting our cellular communication and all of that too. So,
right. So you talked about, Ron, about, we want to be around people who are raising our vibrational frequency, just like take you and Lisa, you guys are uplifting each other with the words that you say, the touch that you give. And all of us have the capacity to do that. And they've actually found that people, the longer they're with each other, they harmonize each other.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
Because, yes.
Okay.
So, and that happens with the doctor too. So if the doctor is negative and no, there's nothing, and oh, you only have 3 months to live, well, that destroys the patient. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Because nobody learns in medical school or training how to give an expiration date.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, both your facilities, they share an entryway. And I was actually visiting, obviously, the Center for New Medicine, and it shares it with the Cancer Center for Healing. And when I was into the entryway and I walked in, I actually saw one of your patients who was in an IV, and she was walking around the facility. She probably had to take that IV for 45 minutes or an hour. And I just very casually said, "How you doing?" And she stopped. And she was frail as can be. She was this elderly woman, and she's just walking around. You just didn't know what the reaction was going to be. She said, "I have never, ever felt better than I do right now.
Aww.
You have no idea how good I feel."
Oh.
And it was really so inspiring. So when I say hope and opportunity, that's what your facility and that's what you create on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
That is very true. All the patients say that because
It made me teary-eyed.
What?
He said he made me teary-eyed. That was so sweet. And I remember, Ron, you came home and told me that because you had come to the center for an appointment and you told me that. but not everybody can get to see you, but there are places.
I don't think there's any place like our clinic, only because I tell people I didn't do it. We have this just amazing, powerful star team that makes all this happen, honestly.
Yeah.
And they're all in it for the mission of educating, empower individuals and their families to live the best life possible with all the invincible possibilities. And that's what we think, is that we're limitless. We're going to do whatever thing we can. And like I said, we know none of us know how long we're going to live, but we're going to make today great. Honestly, that's the way you have to live. Now, there are doctors that are growing in knowledge and information to practice this new functional integrative biological medicine. That's the different names they call it. And so, but that's the kind of doctor you want to partner in with, because that doctor is going to look deep. They're not going to just look at you and go, oh my God, you look okay. And the little minimal blood test they do, oh yeah, you look okay. See you later. Bye. So you want a doctor that really bothers to know the details of you.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. So true. The energy that, going back to that, the energy of your physician, the energy of the place. So Dr. Connealy, we have a caller on the phone. Are you open to taking a call?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Chris,
hi, Lisa.
do you have a question for Dr. Connealy?
I wanted to ask Dr. Connealy a question about the proper diet for someone who's been through cancer treatment or currently going through treatment. My husband had cancer going on 13 years ago, and he had trouble actually with his diet, and we weren't sure what the proper foods to eat were. So that's my question. What kind of diet should that person be on?
Right. Okay. So food is the single most important thing that we teach our patients. Now, I will tell you, there's no one size fits all. In my book, I bring up the ketogenic, but that's just maybe one eating program. Not everybody will necessarily need a ketogenic, but I'll tell people there's some cardinal rules. You've got to get off sugar, because cancer cells thrive on sugar. That's their food. Yes. Then you need to get off junk food, packaged foods. You need to get on foods that come from nature, which is vegetables, fruits, all kinds of everything live that we can possibly do. Now, as I said before, there's no one size fits all. Like, for example, if we have a leukemia patient, I might not give them ketogenic. Yes, I'll take away the sugar and the processed and the baked foods and the packaged foods, but I know that those leukemia patients will probably need some grass-fed beef, okay, and protein. And so now other kind of patients, I'll say, no, we're going to do only ketogenic because your blood sugar is running a little high. Even you might be pre-diabetic or diabetic. So definitely want to get off the sugar. We want to get you on a ketogenic, which is basically very little carbs. All right. It's fat as your friend, protein, and then some carbohydrates that are just vegetables. But we all eat too much dead food, unfortunately. And our cells, all of our cells rely on energy from the substances we eat. We also have this biochemical machine that needs all the nutrients. All of your Krebs cycle of energy, which is the biochemical machine that all of our cells have, require all these nutrients, whether it's the A's, B, C, D, and E, all the glutathione and coenzyme Q, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have to get that from our food. So if we're eating dead food, that is not going to have the nutritional content to run the biochemistry of your body. And your body, we have to understand the science of food is very complicated. It's not like you just, okay, I'll just follow this simple little diet. No, we need to make sure that it's the eating program for you, okay, number one, and it's sufficient in the nutrients that we need to run our body. And I will tell you, 92% of the population is deficient in one or more nutrients.
And don't even know it. Wow. Chris, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
thank you for calling. I mean, we could go on and on that topic. And if you could elaborate a little on what you said, dead versus living food. So for people who are listening and saying, what is that? I've heard shop the perimeter of your grocery store, obviously, or your farmer's market. Shop the perimeter where all the fresh food is. And if you look at the middle of a grocery store, everything's packaged, right? Everything's in a box or a bag. So how would you explain living versus dead?
Yeah, right. So let's, look at fruits and vegetables. Anything that's going to sit on your shelf and not going to last more than 5 days is probably not good for you, right? So, I mean, yeah, there's eggs, but eggs, as far as I'm concerned, don't have to be refrigerated. But there's live things in eggs. There's live things in meat. There's live things in chicken and lamb. And as long as you don't overcook it and destroy all the nutrients. But you're right. If you're buying things in a package now, I have to say that food design has become very sophisticated these days.
Yeah.
And there are some really good, halfway decent, healthy crackers. And, you can look for them. There are some good foods that are really diligently made and okay for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't read all the ingredients, it's a bunch of chemical names, it's probably not something you should be ingesting.
Right. If you can't read the ingredients, steer clear and try to eat the rainbow, right? I mean, eat the rainbow. Ron and I are vegan. And when we became vegan, we noticed our plate is so vibrant and colorful because really for us, it's no meat and it's so much vegetables. It's vegetables and fruits and produce. So it's always like this cornucopia of colors when we eat.
Right.
So what would you do with us, Dr. Connealy? We will not eat the grass-fed beef. We would not do
vegan
that.
keto though.
But you can do you can do protein powders though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And avocados are fats, coconut oils, your body needs lots of fats, believe it or not. But look at the oils. Avocados, coconut oil, chia seeds, nutso, all the seeds. There's lots of things to eat that are fat that are really good for you, And also, but it would be wonderful for you guys, and this would be a good thing for you guys to do a show on, is say, okay, I ate vegetarian and I'm going to check my nutrients to see if I have sufficient. Because I remember doing this on a lady who had lymphoma. And she was, oh my God, this lady, she was vegetarian. I think she was raw. And she did all these herbs and tinctures and everything. I said, oh my God, I can't wait to do your nutrient evaluation so I can see. Well, she did not have a good nutrient evaluation.
Yeah.
So we had to change things up.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you don't measure, you're not managing.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys would be a good example of do the blood test and see where you really are.
We do, Dr. Connealy. We do.
Just finished.
We do. We're your star patients. No, I'm just kidding. But it's funny. It's funny. I got my blood test back and everything was good. I had high iron and Brandy's like, gosh, really bizarre, because you're a vegan.
Because you're vegan.
Maybe you want to cut back a little on the spinach and kale. She told me. I thought, okay, it must be. That's so funny. But no, so when Ron and I first started on our health journey, which was really when we met each other, Ron's motto was, if it's not fast food, it's not a real meal. That was his motto.
I have it twice a day, Dr.
Yeah, this
Connealy,
is how far we've come.
Yeah,
19 years ago.
For years.
Yeah. And so to see where he is today is amazing. But I had Ron doing all kinds of cleanses, parasite cleanses, colon cleanses, liver cleanses. We were doing all of that. So can bacteria, viruses, and parasites, can they cause cancer?
Well, they're a contributing cause. I always tell people that it's a perfect storm in the body. So is it because you don't sleep, you don't drink good water? Is it because you don't eat foods that are nutritious? Is it because you have pollutants? Do you have bacteria? Do you have virus, parasites, fungi? All of these things create the perfect storm in the system. So it's usually not a one cause problem. I always tell people cancer is like having 100 leaks in the roof and it's a tornado, rainstorm, and hurricane. And you got to seal them all off right this second.
So can you say that again?
Yeah. So I tell people cancer's like it's 100 leaks in the roof.
Okay.
And it's a tornado, rainstorm, and hurricane. And you need to seal all the leaks off right away, right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why when I start with a patient, I have them I try not to overwhelm them, but I'm also trying to save their life, guys.
Yeah.
So I have patients that are really, really gung-ho and will do everything. And then some I have to kind of coax along because they've done nothing in their life. And then how I have them doing 10 things, because we have our patients do detox bath, a cleanse you mentioned, a liver flush, and all the other things that we need to combat.
Is this all done before surgery? Before you actually get a surgery or try to remove a tumor, would you be doing all these things first?
Absolutely. We prep our patients even for a biopsy. Because why? A biopsy is injurious and immunosuppressive. Your whole body knows what happened, right? So think about it, just a biopsy, all right? So here you are, you're going in, the doctor's going quasi-blindly, and I say quasi because he's using ultrasound technology or some kind of technology to monitor where he or she is putting in the needle. But we don't know what happens to those cells, right?
Yeah.
So we want to be fighting cancer at the time we do a biopsy, even though maybe the biopsy came back negative. We still want to make sure the body's got all the repair mechanisms in place to take care of that injury that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do surgery is very immunosuppressive and injurious. Think about how much injury is caused from doing a surgery. So I like to prep the patients mentally and physically and biochemically before, with all the eating, with the mind. I give them healing affirmations. I give them hyperbaric oxygen before and after, IV vitamin C.
By the way, I think you have more hyperbaric chambers in your facility than all of California or something crazy. Are there at the highest concentration? There was some sort of fact or stat. Is that true?
There's a whole room dedicated to hyperbaric oxygen, which is, by the way, used all over the world and used to heal from all kinds of injuries and for cancer and for diabetic ulcers and wounds and all those kinds of good things.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I remember the first time we had a tour of your facility many, many years ago, and we saw that. It was the first time I'd ever seen a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. It looks like a plane, like an airplane with the glass around it. And you sit and watch a movie. It's like,
yes.
Yeah.
You think Michael Jackson, right? You think,
exactly.
And I know your motto too. I've heard you say, I won't do anything that causes you harm.
Right.
Or hurts.
Or just hurts you or destroys you.
Painful.
We're doing everything to enhance the body physically and mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, I think that's really telling, right? If you're doing something and it's really stressful on your body and doesn't feel right, I just feel like that's a sign. That's your body telling you, maybe that's not the right, avenue. But I want to move on to breast cancer because it's 1 in 8 women today, and it's such an important topic. I'm sure every single person on the listening has had someone affected in their family or life. So if somebody was genetically tested with the BRCA gene, would they go ahead and get a mastectomy?
Well, BRCA 1 and 2. So if they have a predisposition, first of all, they'd probably need to see me, number one, because what you'd want to make sure is that they don't have cancer to begin with. I had a patient, interestingly, had a surgery for that, and they found cancer. So you want to do the preparation, pre-op blood work and circulating tumor cells before you even have it, right? So she was found, once they did the surgery, they found cancer in the tissues, but she wasn't pre-diagnosed with that.
Oh, I see. So she just had the surgery because she had the gene?
Had the gene.
Oh, and so voluntarily, and then they find it. Okay.
So I tell people, genetics does not mean destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So if your mom had breast cancer or heart disease or whatever disease, doesn't mean that you are going to. It depends on how your genes are played out every day. And that is dependent upon every single thing that you do and everything you eat and everything you're exposed to. For example, if you eat poorly, Cheerios for breakfast and peanut butter and jelly for lunch and hamburger helper for dinner, you are going to turn on bad genes. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to turn on bad genes.
Yeah, you're just opening the gateway, right? You're opening the doorway and inviting him in.
Right.
Hello, take a seat. Yeah.
And then we're all exposed to a flurry of toxins every single day, whether we like it or not, in the air we breathe, water, food we eat, and the things we put on our skin. So we need to be very careful about that. And like I said earlier, we need to regularly cleanse every day. I know the average doctor does not embrace that, but I will tell you, we already have documented studies of chemicals in umbilical cords, chemicals in breast milk, chemicals in the blood. We already know that we know what each of these chemicals do on their own, but when you put 300 chemicals together, what is their synergistic potential?
Right.
So this is triggering bad genes. This is triggering bad chemical reactions that are taking place. And what happens to you and me are two different things. Okay, everybody's different. So doing preventive mastectomies and preventive removal of your ovaries is not how to prevent and treat cancer or pre-cancer or preventatively. That is not the thing to do.
Chopping off your body as a preventative measure.
Well, think about it. The trauma that the patient will have forever. Think about it. Just that, doing that alone, much less the physical trauma that they're going, and emotional trauma, how they're going to look at themselves every single day. They're going to be reminded with their scars every single day of that.
Right. And it's just so pushed in, I don't want to say media and like mainstream culture, you see a lot of that push towards that. And it's really strange because I know I read the study that 90 to 95% of cancers are not genetic. That was the PubMed study that was, So, and a lot of people just don't realize that they have so much power over, like you said, their lifestyle choices. But it is a lifestyle change that you do have to wake up every day and say, I choose me and I choose health. And I'm going to do these things today because I love myself enough to take care of myself and invest that $500 to get that test. And because you know what, you'll find $500 for the latest phone, for the latest iPhone.
The latest something. You're right. And that's what I always say. And I tell people, health is there is no better asset that you have. Trust me, I do this every day. And I tell people, if you spent 3 days with me, you would do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
You need a boot camp.
Because seriously, it's very serious.
You need a boot camp.
Very serious.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is. It's serious.
exactly.
This is our lives. So we had a guest on. She's a filmmaker, producer who did a movie called Boobs, The War on Women's Breasts. I highly recommend everyone go back to episode 13. It's pretty startling, some of the statistics in that film, that documentary, and they get into thermography and mammography. Can you tell us, Dr. Connealy, what the difference is between the two?
Well, that's a good, I haven't seen that documentary or.
You can stream it. You can stream it for like $4 online. There's a link on our website.
Okay.
I can send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look at it, but you're right. So breast imaging, and I will tell you, we talked about earlier about imaging. So imaging, it is not going to tell you the end all. All right. So let's take mammography, which is probably the most recommended screening test for women. All right. So mammography has been around for a long time, but believe it or not, thermography has been around probably longer.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And so mammography will show calcifications and possible densities. I say possible because I have many a patient who had a mammogram and the next month they have cancer. So obviously, so I tell people, if your mammogram shows that you have dense tissue, that means they're going to miss 50% or more of the pathology. Now, I will tell you, for all the mammogram screenings, out of 10,000 women, you save 3 lives.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
The false positive rate is 67%. So you have all these women thinking they have cancer and go through the biopsy and everything, and then they don't have cancer.
And the stress, that emotional stress. Yeah,
exactly. Very, very traumatic and very emotional. So I would never use mammography as an end all for patients. Mm-hmm. So I used your ultrasound. Ultrasound's it's covered by insurance, especially if you have dense breast. Ultrasound is covered by insurance. So ultrasound will tell me lumps and bumps, okay, and pretty small lumps and bumps. Then thermography is a vascular image, which means blood vessels. So breasts typically don't have blood vessels. So cancer, remember, is they have to have a blood supply to stay alive.
Oh, gotcha.
So when they get to year probably 3 or 4, they're already nested and they've got a blood supply. They stay alive because of what you eat and do every day. So if you do thermography, it will show there is vascularity in the breast. And you don't want vascularity because vascularity means there's maybe something going on. And I say maybe because every imaging, I have many a patient who have imaging, okay. Oh, let's say it's a breast ultrasound. Let's say it's a pancreas ultrasound, different ultrasounds, chest x-rays or CTs looking for nodules. And I always tell the patient, look, I would prefer on the safe side. The imaging says it's nothing, but how do we know? We're going to know by doing circulating tumor cells. And I will give you a case in point. I had a patient who was hit by a golf ball in her breast. And so she went to the doctor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She went to the doctor and she got all these testing. She saw a surgeon. She saw her GYN and she did all the imaging, a mammogram, ultrasound, everything. And the doctor said that it was nothing and reaffirmed that it was nothing. So she came to see me and I go, look, you know what? Imaging is not perfect. So I said, we need to do a circulating tumor cell. And sure enough, it showed up circulating tumor cells, even though the imaging says it appeared benign. The surgeon looking at it said it appeared behind. The gynecologist said it appeared behind. But then when she came to me, so then I did bioenergetic testing. And sure enough, the imbalance that came up in the system was in that breast. So, yeah, so, you know, it's so for very little time, energy, and money, we can find a lot of things and just, and what is she doing now? She's doing great. She's changed her whole lifestyle. She doesn't see me frequently because I'm preventing. I have her on a preventive protocol. I got her dialed in to how to think, how to sleep, how to eat, her nutrients, etc. And I have her on a preventive protocol. So, and again, this weekend I was in, I often come in the weekends, and the weekend I got a new imaging and it says, oh, everything looks perfect and fine. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, we always have to keep looking. Just like you, I know what you're wearing right now. I can see what you're wearing right now. But you would say to me, Lisa can say to me, but Dr. Connealy, I have 10 layers of clothes here. I am wearing 10 layers, but all I see is the top layer. If we don't keep looking and you don't take off each layer to show me the next layer, I'm just going to say, no, you're wearing this pink outfit.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
So
we can only see the surface.
Yeah, we can only see the surface, but we as physicians need to keep looking and looking and looking and look at the terrain of the cell. The terrain of the cell is the microscopic facet of the cell, the biochemistry of the cell, everything that we know that's documented on PubMed. You mentioned PubMed. All of these things are documented on PubMed.
Yeah. So much good information available now. And I know people are getting more, I think light bulbs are clicking. I know in our community, you know, people are just so much more open-minded to things that they would have poo-pooed or like you said, that were woo-woo years ago.
Correct.
So going back to that thermography, mammography, how often should women, do you think, be tested today? And who is at higher risk? Is it the women with dense breasts or people obviously with an unhealthy lifestyle?
Well, like I said earlier, I don't use just one imaging. Okay. For myself, I will use sometimes mammography. I will tell you, a lot of my patients do not like mammography because they don't like the injurious aspect. So on those patients, I will do thermography and ultrasound. All right. And so because you can't just say you're going to do one thing, Lisa, I don't like that. I'd rather, and if you do mammogram with your doctor right now and you read it, the first thing I do is I look at the density of the breast. If it says it's dense, immediately go and do an ultrasound and thermography. Okay. That's what I do. Which is mostly, most people, I will tell you, most people. But I will tell you that a lot of my patients have done lots of research, lots of homework on mammogram. Mammogram, people need to understand, is radiation, which is possibly cancer causing. But the Cochrane Collaboration Group did an analysis of all the literature all over. They have no relationship with any of these companies. They have no financial ties. And they basically said that the mammography is not a good tool for breast screening. It's better if women just did really good breast self-exam, if you want to know the truth.
Oh my gosh, you're going to love the documentary, Boobs, the War on Women's Breasts, because she actually quoted that exact study, the Cochrane study, and I didn't know who they were, but yeah. Yeah,
well, they are an independent group of scientists who review scientific literature. And so they're independent. They have nothing, they have no ties, they don't have any skin in the game about what the results end up or anything. So it's a great, they have had some changes because their last director was fired because he was too anti-drug. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Go figure.
Yeah. So now, you know, if he was fired, literally, this is true story. So you can go look it up. His doctor, he's a doctor from Denmark, Peter Ghosh. He's very not purposefully, scientifically, he says. So it's very interesting.
It's not for pill for ill. Like your phrase before. Nope, with a pill for ill.
Right.
Right?
No, pill for every ill. Right.
Pill for every ill. That's what it
Yeah. Okay. I want to wrap up this show. This has been so great. I hope you guys are learning so much. I know at the Center for Healing, you have a 4-pillar approach to treating illness, which is test, treat, build immunity, and treat the causes. Can you kind of elaborate and then leave the listeners with something they can do to start purifying and detoxing? You said to cleanse every day, and maybe you could kind of give us some tips on what that would look like.
Okay. So testing, like I said before, it's doing all the blood testing. Like I said, like it could be just regular blood work. It could be doing the circulating tumor cell. Now it could be a more expansive panel doing, testing for chemo and surgery and all these other, not chemo and surgery, but chemotherapy, natural things and all that work on it. I might do urine testing for mold. I might do parasite blood testing, all kind of different testing. So testing is very, very important, like I said. And like I said, a lot of it is covered under your insurance plan. Then we talked about treatment. Well, there's so many different ways. Remember, I said cancer is 100 leaks in the roof. We have to use all kinds of different modalities to nudge the body in the right direction. Because I tell people when you have cancer, it's like an earthquake. And you don't use one machine, one modality, one consultant. You use so many different things to do. So
because it was a lot of things. It was a lot of things that created it. So it makes sense that you use a lot of things.
Right. Yes. And then we have to help the immune system because the immune system's broken. Okay. Because you wouldn't have got cancer if the immune system. So you got to do the proper testing and treatment to help the immune system. Then you got to go start peeling the artichoke of, okay, like we said earlier, what was this perfect storm that developed? What are all the root causes? Is it your mouth? Do you have root canals? Do you have periodontal disease? Do you have mercury fillings? Do you have candida? Do you have parasites? Do you have viruses? Like viruses contribute a lot to cancer. Like, for example, 50% of head and neck cancers are related to HPV, the human papillomavirus. 50%.
Really?
Yes.
50% of head and neck cancers? Would that include thyroid?
No, head and neck would be, the lymph glands, the tonsils and all that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so you've got it. So a lot of people have dental disease, lots. Okay.
Yeah. So are you, oh gosh, because I know you used to have a holistic dentist at your center where Ron and I also went. And we go to holistic, we go to him still actually. And so he doesn't do root canals or, obviously no mercury fillings. And I've heard that. Is that true that root canals are linked to cancer?
Yes, exactly. Root canals, because a root canal is a chronic infection. And it's very hard to get to the many, many, many miles of dental tubules to get rid of the infection. So you got to work with a dentist who's schooled way beyond what the drill and bill, and take out and everything.
Drill and bill, right?
Yeah.
Drill, fill, and bill.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to be very careful. You want a doctor who's like a biological dentist, just like a biological doctor. So, it's complicated. God made the body very, very, very masterfully miraculous. Trust me. And every day, why is there continual science? Because there's a continual discovery. So medical information doubles every 2 years. Think about it. Oh, wow. So we're all behind. We're all behind all the time. Yeah. Okay.
Technology is moving so fast too. All these pollutions that are coming in through like our products, our personal care, our skin care, our electromagnetic radiation, of course. So yeah, we got it. And that's moving faster, like you said, than we can keep up. So we have to. Okay. So when you said, let's cleanse, you cleanse every day. What does that look like?
Okay. That's a great question. Well, the first thing I do is I start my day out with 10 ounces of juicing. So I do 10 ounces of green juice every single morning. And I add to that silica drops. I add to that liver sauce, which is a liver protective formula. And that's what I do in the morning. Okay. Every single morning I do that. Okay.
Do you juice yourself or do you get the juices?
I get the juices. Yeah. Okay. Because when I had children, I made the juices. Now I'm like, no, I get a girl who stores them in glass mason jars because I don't use plastic. I don't like plastic at all. I avoid plastic at all costs. And so that's what I do. Now, what I'm doing now, because I was doing zeolite. I was doing zeolite liquid before, but now I've changed. And so I switch it up all the time. I do chlorella tablets. And right now I'm doing about 20 chlorella tablets. Chlorella is a green chlorophyll food. You guys probably know. And I do 10 in the morning and 10 in the afternoon. And I do it away from food because it's great for your digestive system, great cleanser for your digestion and everything. Now, liver cleanses.
Isn't that an anti-cancer?
Yeah, it's anti-everything. It's wonderful for lots of it's anti-metal.
Like a chelation, a natural
chelator. It's a natural chelator, a natural cleanser. It's a cleanser for the GI tract and everything. And then I love infrared sauna. I would say the single greatest investment that anyone can make is getting infrared sauna.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you burn calories when you go in there. You
oxygenate your body. Cancer is a low oxygen. It's a toxic environment. The infrared sauna helps you make heat shock proteins, which kill cancer. You can't go wrong with an infrared sauna. So I would say those are the top things. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I give my patients, if they don't have an infrared sauna, I have them do a bath with Epsom salt, baking soda, and clay.
Oh, okay. Epsom salt, baking soda, and clay. And by clay, you mean bentonite clay?
Yeah, well, we have a magnetic clay that we use. And so I give them the recipe. I give it to them on their chart. And that's what I do. It's in my book too. I talk about it in my book.
And you don't have to do that every day, right?
If I have a real sick patient, or let's say you're getting a PET scan, or you're getting a CT scan, or you're getting an MRI with dye, you want to be doing those. You want to be doing those cleanses every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day.
Because that stuff is toxic.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, those are great tips. Those are such great tips. And I know at the center, you have a Healthy Living store for listeners. They sell all of the stuff that we talked about today. Do you guys even sell the infrared saunas? I know you have them.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We have a link.
Yeah, because you can actually get these for anyone who doesn't know. They're little tiny, it looks like a little tiny house.
Right.
You can put it in your garage. You can put it in your backyard. It's like a cedar, right? It's like a cedar little room, and amazing. Oh my gosh. This has been so incredible, so hopefully life-saving and life-changing for our listeners. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Dr. Connealy, thank you. You're such a wealth of knowledge. You're so passionate. You're brave. And thank you for all the work you do to make people healthy and vibrant in this world. You guys can learn more at ConnealyMD.com. That's ConnealyMD.com. And don't forget to snag your 2 free gifts that I talked about at the top. 1, the juice plan, and 2, the 14-day keto plan. And you can pick up a copy of Dr. Connealy's books, The Cancer Revolution, or Be Perfectly Healthy. All of the links are in the show notes. Head over to ronandlisa.com/podcast right now. And we can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank
you, guys.
Bye.
This episode of the Healthy Home Hacks podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more healthy living strategies and tactics to help you create the healthy home you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.